Well, salvete omnes, or salvete omnes, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. Greetings to all of you. This is the beginning of Latin for Children Primer C, the third book in the series. Congratulations to you who are studying Latin using this book, the third book in a series. This means you're making some significant progress. You're learning lots of Latin vocabulary that's introducing you to lots of English vocabulary, and whether you know it or not, lots of words that occur in Romanian, Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese. In fact, by studying Latin, you're studying lots of different disciplines at the same time, whether you realize it or not, whether you're thinking about it or not. You're learning how language works together, how words relate to one another, to form meaning in sentences and paragraphs. That's called grammar. And by learning the Latin grammar, you're learning the grammar for all languages, because they're all grammatically similar. So you are learning English grammar. You're learning how English works as you study Latin. And of course, you are learning a lot of new English words, because about 50% of the words that you speak come from this language. So you're going to learn about 240 new Latin words in this book. And if you studied the first two books, Primer A and Primer B, you already know over 500 Latin words that have increased your English vocabulary by at least that amount. So, salvete or salvete, welcome, greetings. We're going to study some more Latin. By the time you finish Primer C, you will have learned more vocabulary. You will have learned all of the noun declensions and all of the verb conjugations and a lot of verb tenses and a lot of Latin phrases. You're going to learn an immense amount. And I hope it's going to be enjoyable, delightful for you. It is for me. And it's my privilege to be your magister or magister, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, as we travel through the 32 chapters in this book. So welcome. We're going to begin with review. We're going to start by looking at some things you already know. Some vocabulary you should know and some new vocabulary. We'll start with the noun declension endings and the present tense verb endings. In fact, if I were just to ask you right now, can you remember the noun endings for the first declension? Let me pause and let you just go ahead and recite them or chant them. Excellent. Most of you have got them. In the first declension noun endings are a, I, am, a, I, aram, is, as, is. Or if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, it's a for I, right? A, a, aram, is, as, is. So, I hope you knew that already. But if you need to lock it in, that's why we're reviewing. Make sure you really know these noun endings. How about the second declension noun endings? Pausing again for you to answer. Good. Us, I, o, in the singular. I, orum, is, os, is in the plural. Second declension noun. Those are masculine endings. Second declension masculine endings. First declension endings are feminine, right? So you probably remembered that. What about second declension masculine endings? Well, they follow the neuter rule, which is a great rule because it always works. It's always in effect. What is the neuter rule? It means that if a noun is in the is neuter, and it has a neuter gender, the nominative and accusative cases will always be identical. For example, look what we have here. I, o, o. And yes, the nominative and accusative are the same. And in the plural, a, orum, is, a, is. A and a, yes, the a and the nominative and the accusative are the same. The neuter rule. Do you remember the neuter rule? And then the present tense verb endings. Now, without looking at your book, can you chant them? Excellent. O, S, T, mus, tis, nt. All right. For the first few chapters, we'll be reviewing. There won't be new grammar for you to learn. But let's look at the vocabulary list, a great list, as always, because Latin words are great. Generally speaking, they're great. Bibo, bibere, bibi. means to drink. What English word might come from bibo bibere? Well, imbibe. To imbibe means to drink, sometimes a lot. And then there's convoco, convocare, convocavi, convocatum, or convoco, convocare, convocavi, convocatum. That's the ecclesiastical pronunciation. It means to gather together. Think of a convocation. A convocation is a gathering of people, maybe before the start of a school year. Curo, curare, curavi, or curavi, using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. Curatum means to care for. Think of the word cure. And then festino, festinare, festinavi, or festinavi, festinatum, to hurry, rush, or accelerate. There is a Latin phrase, a maxim, that goes like this: festina lente. It's a good word, a good piece of advice for students. Festina is in the imperative. It means hurry up or make haste. But lente means slowly. Make haste slowly. It simply means master each step on the way to learning. When you're learning something, learn it completely and permanently. That actually will cause you to learn faster, even though it seems that at the time you're slowing down. By slowing down and actually mastering something that you're learning, you will find that generally you learn more quickly. So, festina lente. Then there's porto, portare, portavi, portatum, or portavi, if you're using the classical pronunciation. Porto, portare, portavi, portatum, to carry or to bring. Well, think of the English words that come from porto, portare, like portable and porter, and all the port words like transport, report, export, import. These words are important. Porto, portare, to carry, to bring. And then saluto, salutare, salutavi, or salutavi, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. Salutatum, to greet, to wish well. What English word comes from salutare? Well, how about salutations? Salutations, everyone, is a way of saying greetings, everyone. And then colonus, coloni, which means colonist, farmer. And what word do we get from colonus, coloni? Well, colonist and colony would be related. And then toga, togai, or toga, toge, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. What does this mean? Well, toga. We would call that a loan word, by the way. Words in Latin that come right into English, we've just borrowed them. They're kind of on loan to us from Latin. So they're not so much derivatives as actual Latin words that we've just imported right into our vocabulary. Toga means toga. And then these adjectives, fessus, fessa, fessum, tired. So we might want to say that in a tired way. Fessus, fessa, fessum. Liber, libera, liberum, free, and you can see the English word that's related, liberty. Well, there's actually a Latin word, libertas, but it's related to liber, which means free. Think of the word liberal, liberation. And then we have aqua, aquae, or aqua, aquae, which means, of course, water. And yes, we get English words like aquatic and aquarium from this. Dominus, domini, domina, domini, or domina, domine, we're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, means lord or master, lady or mistress in the feminine. In the Latin Vulgate, the name for God is often Dominus, Lord, the one who has dominion. Femina, feminae, or femina, feminae, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, means woman. And of course, the word feminine comes from femina. And then magister, magistri, or magister, magistri, that soft G, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, means teacher, master, or even captain. Now, in our stories going through Primer C here, we're going to use the word magister sometimes to refer to a sea captain because, well, he's kind of the teacher on board the ship, instructing all of those nautai, all of the sailors. So I've said to you that sum magister or sum magister, I am a teacher. I'm your teacher for this book. Could we regard me as a kind of sea captain? That's kind of exciting. And you could be the nautai, the sailors on board the ship that we're sailing, the USS or HMS Latina, that ship of Latin. Well, back to the real world, Dr. Perrin. Servus servi, using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, or servus servi, if you're using the classical pronunciation, or serva serve, using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, or serva servi, using the classical pronunciation, means slave, either male or female. Now you can see the word servant seems to be related to servus, to serve someone. And there's nothing wrong with serving someone or being a servant to your friends or family. But if you're forced to do that, well, then you're a slave. And that is wrong. Then there is wir, viri, or vir, viri, using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. It means man. No, we do not get the word weird from weir, even though the two words sound alike. But a related word is virtue. There's a Latin word virtus or virtus, which means courage, fortitude. That's related. Kind of like a really brave vir could be said to have virtus. Well, do you have virtus or virtus, courage, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation? What great words come from Latin. Now let's take a look at our story. Just by looking at this image, you know that we have a problem. The problem, well, can be summarized in one word. Piratai, or pirate, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. Pirates. Pirates have landed on this insula, and they're wreaking havoc. They're breaking windows, setting fire. They're not doing good things. And so begins our story that's going to feature our time-traveling friends, Marcus and Julia. This is in the age of exploration when there were piratai or pirate. What's going to happen? Well, you'll find out as you read the story, and you'll see that you'll have to use your Latin as well as your English to weave together the meaning of this story. So you can see there that in the rowboat, Marcus and Julia are observing what's going on, and they're going to give you a kind of report as to the dangers that are ahead and the adventures as well. If we go to the grammar lesson, it's review. So we're going to look at nouns and adjectives. You've already learned a lot about nouns. You know that nouns have three characteristics. They have gender, number, and case. Gender means that they can be male, masculine or feminine, or neuter. They can have one of those three options. And as you learn a noun, you will learn which of those three it is. For example, femina happens to be feminine. And one of my favorite masculine nouns, lupus, means wolf. And wouldn't it be great if Marcus and Julia had a lupus to accompany them on these dangerous journeys that are ahead? If they, and I don't know why the story writer didn't see the need for this, but if they had a trained lupus, kind of like a domesticated wolf, like a German Shepherd, they would be well equipped for the dangers that are ahead. But alas, so far I have not seen a lupus appear in the story. Sorry to tell you that, but lupus is a masculine noun in the second declension. It ends in us, us, I, o, You know the endings. But lupus is masculine because it has gender. Lupus is singular because I'm talking about one wolf, unus lupus. So then gender, number, just one of them. If we had two lupi, then we would have, we would be plural, but it's singular. So in terms of number, lupus is singular, In terms of gender, it's masculine, and in terms of case, it's nominative. So, and you know that there are other options, right? It could be nominative, but it could also be genitive, dative, accusative, or ablative. And if I wanted to, decline lupus, well, I could do that. Lupus would be nominative. Lupi would be genitive. This is singular, right? In the singular, it would be lupus, lupi, lupo, lupum, lupo. That's called declining a noun, but you already know that. Okay, so we have gender, number, and case, and those cases are telling us what jobs the noun or the adjective does. Now, adjectives also have gender, number, and case. So, for example, if I wanted to say, my lupus, I wish I had one. I wish I had a German Shepherd. Actually, I have a dog now, not a German Shepherd. It's a Hungarian Vizsla, but more about that later. They're great dogs. They're hunters. But if I had a lupus that was tired, I need an adjective to say he's tired. So, well, I know that fessus, fessa, fessum means tired. So, a lupus fessus, a wolf that's been hunting all night and found no food, would be a lupus fessus, a tired wolf. And so, fessus would also be nominative, right? You would also have the same gender, so it would have to be masculine, and it is. And it would also have to be singular. Well, because we're talking about just, unus lupus, one wolf. So adjectives agree with the nouns that they're paired with or they modify. They'll have the same gender, number, and case as the nouns that they're paired with. That's why if lupus is genitive, nominative, singular, well then fessus must also be genitive, nominative, and singular. Okay, that's a good summary of adjectives and nouns, except I need to talk a little bit about noun jobs. So you know this already, but in the nominative case, when you see a Latin noun in the nominative case, it's telling you something about how that noun is functioning in a sentence. For example, if I said, lupus est fessus, well, I'm telling lupus is a noun. I'm saying, of course, that the wolf is tired, and so the nominative, putting it in the nominative, putting lupus in the nominative case is telling me it's the subject of the sentence. If I said lupus ambulat, the wolf walks, well, I'm telling you that it's the wolf that's doing the walking. He's the subject of the sentence. He's doing the walking. Well, you can see by looking at the chart here that we're showing you the noun jobs and the abbreviations we use to describe them for how Latin nouns work in a sentence. For a nominative, the nominative case can serve as the subject noun, or SN. It can also serve as a predicate nominative, PRN, or a predicate adjective. And in the sentence, which I'll write here for you, lupus est fessus, period, you can see that one of these is a predicate adjective. Which word is the adjective? Well, of course, it's fessus. It's tired. The wolf is tired. This is a PRA because it's renaming, it's telling me rather something about this lupus, that it's tired. But it's also in the nominative case. That's why it has a us ending. And then lupus here is the subject noun, right? It's the subject of the sentence. Who is tired? The lupus is tired. This happens to be, by the way, a linking verb. Lupus est fessus. Now, what would be a predicate nominative is if I said, vir est lupus. The man is a wolf. Of course, that would be a kind of metaphor. But then I would be renaming the fact that this man is a wolf. Now, I could do this with a name, like I could say, Julia est puella. Well, these are both nouns, girl and Julia, but I'm letting you know that Julia is a girl. I'm renaming her as a girl. This is actually a predicate nominative. And Julia is our subject noun, and est is still a linking verb. This is review for you. But isn't it nice to take a look at things you already know? Then PNA is an abbreviation for predicate noun adjective. It's what the genitive case does for us, is show us possession. So if I wanted to say that this wolf, the lupus, was really the possession of me, the teacher, I could say, the lupus, and wouldn't this be exciting? Magistri. This is genitive here, right? This is showing possession. It's a predicate noun adjective. This is my wolf, the wolf of the teacher, the teacher's wolf. Then we have, for the accusative case, the direct object. The accusative case functions as a direct object or the object of the preposition. And I'll just give you an example here. If I can see this wolf even in the night, I might say, Video, I see the wolf, and I must make it accusative, right? So that would be lupum. Us, eo, That's the accusative case singular. Oh, I see the wolf. Video, or video, if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, lupum. Direct object. And then object of the preposition is used for both the ablative and for the accusative. For example, using the ablative, if I wanted to say that this wolf walks in the forest or into the forest, I would use the accusative form, but let me just show you. Lupus ambulat in silva. Now, this is in the ablative case. And in Latin means in. Who's walking in the forest? So this becomes the object of my preposition, and in is the preposition, and in can take the ablative and function as the object of the preposition. Associated prepositions, sure, by, with, from, but also in would be another one. If I wanted to say I walk with the lupus, wouldn't that be something? Well, then I would say this. Ambulo, I walk. Cum, and I need the ablative case for lupus. Us, eo, o, lupo. I walk with the wolf. Do you remember all of this? I hope it's coming back to you. But these are the abbreviations, and you can see them all here as well to the side of the chart. So now, for a verb review, to finish up our grammar review for this first chapter, verbs also have three characteristics. If nouns have three characteristics and their gender, number, and case, three of them, well, verbs have three characteristics as well. Person, number, and tense. Because whenever someone is doing action, like walking, well, there has to be a person walking. So verbs have person, as in I walk. Well, okay, great. But under the category of person, we can have different persons doing the action. If I'm doing the action, well, I'm the first person who usually comes to mind when I'm thinking. That's sad. Kind of thinking me first too much of the time. So the first person is reference to I. I walk. The second person is a category for someone close to you. So if I'm speaking to you and I'm suggesting that you walk with the wolf through the forest with me, I would say you walk, and you can hear what I'm saying because you're close enough by. So that's the second person, you, someone who's close by, close enough to you that you can interact with that person. The third person, however, is like a third party who's farther away. And so if I'm talking about someone who's farther away and possibly can't even hear me, I would say he walks. He should walk with me tonight, along with the wolf, cum lupo. Of course, we're going to go for a nice walk in the forest at night with a wolf. That sounds exciting. A domesticated wolf. I really mean a German Shepherd. But at any rate, we have first, second, and third persons. And they can be singular. But what if there's two of us together? We would say, we walk. And then if there's two people close to us, two or more, we'd say, you should be walking with us tonight as well. The group of people who are close by. So plural you. We have a singular you, can mean one person, but in English you can also mean you all. And then if there's a group of people farther away from us, we'd say they should be walking with us tonight through the woods with cum lupo. All right, so that's how person works. And of course, number I've already really begun to describe. Number means that we can have more than one person. So if it's I, that's singular. If it's we, that's plural. If it's he, that's singular. If it's they, that's plural. So verbs have the characteristic of person and number, singular or plural. And finally, they have the characteristic of tense, which just refers to time, when something occurs. When you think about it, number means how many, person means who is doing the action, and tense means when is that action being done. So, roughly speaking, we have the past tense. I walked last night through the woods, cum lupo. And the present tense, I walk tonight through the woods, per silvam cum lupo, through the woods with a wolf. And then we have the future, right? I will walk with a wolf. Bobispit ambulabo cum lupo. Cum lupo. I will walk with a wolf. That's tense. Verbs have person, number, and tense. You remember this, do you not? Okay, that really finishes up our grammar review. The only thing that we might do before we finish is maybe just a sentence here at the translation worksheet to review how we do labeling. Look at the first sentence. Rex omnes milites in atrium convocat or convocat. And of course, the V can be va if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation. Well, let's look for our verb. Do you see a verb? Some action, since we've been just reviewing verbs? Yes, it is convocat or convocat. Gather together. That T ending tells us that it's a he, she, or it, right? O-S-T. It's singular. One person is doing the action. So who is the subject? Who can we find a subject in the sentence that is a single subject, singular subject, just one person? And indeed, we find it right here. Rex. There's our subject noun. Rex means king. So the king is calling together. Is he calling together someone or some people? Do we see a direct object, an object of our verb, which is convocat or convocat? Well, look at what we have here. Omnes milites. Milites is plural. It's in the accusative case. Accusative plural. It means soldiers. So we do have a direct object. And omnes, well, that is an adjective that means all. So we have an adjective, all soldiers. And then in we know is a preposition. We'll label it that. And then usually right after the preposition, what do we have? But the object of the preposition, which is atrium, and it's in the accusative case as well. And by the way, when you see these little numbers, they're footnotes, telling you that at the bottom of the page you're going to get some help. So if you don't know what omnes means, we'll look down there, and under one, omnis omne means all, whole, every. You're going to actually learn that in chapter 3. And then atrium means hall. Have you ever heard of an atrium in a big building, say, a museum or a church? There you have it. So, in atrium, the king calls, present tense, calls all soldiers into the atrium. There it's labeled. All right. You see in the maxims down below, these famous Latin phrases, you see that we've already learned festina lente, make haste slowly. There's some others that you can translate on your own. What do you think terra firma means? Well, often when the sailors have been sailing through a stormy sea, they look forward to getting back to terra firma. And vox or vox populi. What might that mean? You can figure that one out. And then rara avis or rara avis. Some might think that because you study Latin, you are a rara avis. Well, there's a lot of people studying Latin now. So to study Latin today is no longer to be a rara avis or rara avis. Well, that concludes chapter 1. I'm so glad once again to have you traveling with me aboard the USS Latina. I'll see you next week for chapter 2. Until then, valete or valete if you're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation.